Okay, how's it going, guys? So, I recently got a question over here from Dave Boyer. Okay, so how's it going, Dave? He wanted to know what is the real deal with stacking. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you mean stacking 18350 batteries. All right. As you know, I have a different take of different things, and I don't believe in the traditional way of teaching things because it's 2014. So I have my own way of showing you how stuff works, okay? So let's just talk about battery stacking, all right? Well, why is it that we stack batteries? Well, we stack batteries to increase the voltage of things. For instance, your average AA battery, okay, is right over here. We just Google AA battery voltage and it tells you it's 1.5 volts, all right? So one battery is 1.5 volts, and your average power required to power, like, let's say, like a TV remote or something. So over here we just Google volts required to power a TV remote. Let's click over here and then see what it says. If we scroll down, it says around 2 or 3 volts. So most remotes take 2 AA batteries because each AA battery is about 1.5, 3 volts to power it. Make sense? Okay. So what's going on when we apply this to vaping? Well, your average IMR battery over here, okay, 18350, right, is going to operate at around like 3.7 volts. So if you stack two batteries, then you're going to get the 7.4 and right, 7.4 for 3.7 plus 3.7, right? Okay. But also take into account the problem with this, right, is that just because both batteries are 700 milliamp hours, you actually are not going to get 1,400 milliamp hours, okay, because they're going to both drain at the same time because they're putting out twice the voltage as opposed to a larger battery that's still operating at 3.7. 700 plus 700, you're actually going to get the 14. You know what I mean? Okay, so the high output in the voltage, right, is actually kind of a scary thing. Here, I'll explain why, right? If we go back to like Ohm's law calculator over here, right, and usually we're always plugging in, anything around like 4.2 to 3.7, 3.6, something like that. But in this scenario, you're actually going to get like 7.4 if you stack the two batteries together, right? So 7.4, let's say we make our average microcoil, right? An average microcoil is like 28 gauge Canthal, 6 wraps or something like that. It's gonna bring the ohms down to like 1.2, right? So if we plug in 1.2 over here and we just go ahead and calculate, the current on the amps over here is going to be 6.166. But if we go ahead and we check out like what is the amperage on, like, let's say a good 18350 battery like a AW or something like that, the max continuous discharge is only 6 amps. So you're exceeding the amperage of the battery. That's what makes this shit fucking dangerous, and you shouldn't be messing around with this anymore, okay, in order to achieve about 45 watts of power. Okay, so this is why in some of my videos or whatever I talk about like why 18350 is nearly pointless. You really, really, absolutely need that small form factor, then go ahead and get the 18350. If not, if that small form factor isn't necessary, don't even bother with this battery, okay? Because the amperage, a lot of things, it's so bad. Okay, it doesn't last very long, and the amperage is pretty crappy, as opposed to all the batteries in 2014 these days, like everything is 30 amps or better. Okay, for instance, let's say your average dripper, right? You're probably going to be firing at like 3.6 or something, and then most of us build it around like zero point 0.3. Let me reset this real quick. So 3.6, and then the resistance is going to be like zero point 0.3 or something. If I go ahead and calculate this, right? First of all, the amps is only going to be 12, which is nothing to an 18650 battery, and I'm going to be vaping at like 43 watts of power versus the other one where like I'm at very dangerous numbers and I'm vaping at 45 watts of power. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to do that. You should definitely stay safe, stay with your 18650s, and remain within like very, very realistic and safe parameters. Okay, so why bother even suggesting 18350 stacked? Well, it's for you guys out there who are like really picky about numbers. Okay, if you go ahead and watch like one of these like Pibisardo videos, right? This is my favorite thing about Phil. All right, Phil will always do the numbers as opposed to other reviewers. Okay, most people will do the reviews for fun, and I don't know, but he's the only guy who actually puts the actual numbers into these things. So over here, right, you got the green, the blue, the red. If you don't understand this video, then I'll just explain it real quick, okay? The green is what it's supposed to fire at. The blue is what it's actually firing at 18650 mode, and then the red is what it's firing at stacked 18350 mode. Now, because this is for like an SVD, right, which is a regulated device. Normally, you should never stack batteries unless it's in a regulated device because you need the computer in there to regulate and make sure that everything is safe, or it won't even bother firing. If you're putting in a mechanical, you might go boom. Okay, so try not to do that. So as you can see over here, right, in the red at 18350. Whatever they try to tweak it at, right, like higher wattage, lower wattage, things like that, the outcome of the stacked 18350 is going to be much closer to what the actual should be, as opposed to a regular 18650 battery isn't able to mimic what it should be firing at. That's all it really is. Okay, so if you're looking for like that perfect optimal performance between like what the battery or what the device is reading out, right, then you would go ahead and do this. Okay, but I really don't recommend it because number one, any 18650 battery these days is around anywhere between like 1500 to 2000 milliamp hours, if not more, as opposed to getting like a couple of stacked batteries where you're just going to get no more than 700 milliamp hours. So you're going to have like excellent performance, but for how long? For about like 30 to 45 minutes at best. You know what I mean? It's kind of pointless. You can't take it out of the house with you. You're just gonna stay home, couple of hits, wow, that was really good, and then that's that. But again, like I said before, you could achieve the same thing with an 18650 battery on a mechanical. You could vape at like 40 watts, 50 watts, and still be safe within the amperage of the battery, as opposed to stacking stuff and taking that risk. You know what I mean? So this is exactly why most people they don't want to get into like the long story of like why you shouldn't do it. They'll just tell people, no, it's not recommended, don't do it. Okay, so that's the story behind it. All right, take care, guys.